Born in lust, turn to dust. Born in sin, come on in. Okay, we are back, and tonight I'm wearing my Stephen King Rules shirt. Why? Because tonight we are reviewing The Shining. Sorry to get you two older films in a row, but it kind of just landed that way. Why am I doing The Shining? I'll answer that when we get to the question in the book. Why this film? I want to give you a few disclaimers before we really get rolling. These videos are completely unedited and unfiltered, so whatever comes out of my mouth is whatever comes out of my mouth, whether it's right or wrong. I'll correct myself in the comments if I have to. And there will be spoilers, especially for the movie that I am reviewing. But, you know, sometimes I go off on tangents, as you know, if you've been listening to my YouTube/podcast or whatever you want to call it. I do go off on tangents, and sometimes I give spoilers for other videos, other films. So I will put a list of movies underneath this video, all the movies that I talk about, and I'll have a header that says spoilers if you want to avoid spoilers for certain movies. So let's get right into it. This is challenge number 12, a controversial film. Absolutely, this is a controversial film. Movie title, The Shining. Year released, 1980, which is a little later than I thought. I thought this was the 70s, but it's 1980. Aspect ratio. Funny thing is, there are several aspect ratios listed in IMDb, and I just put down the theatrical aspect, which is 1.85:1. Running time, 2 hours and 24 minutes. Again, there are several running times on IMDb, and I just put the one of the Blu-ray that I have that I watched tonight. Date challenge completed, 12/30/2023. My rating of this film is 4.5 out of 5, 9 out of 10. Absolutely fantastic film. Happy New Year. I'm getting you this video. Won't be uploaded until New Year's Eve. So just wanted to say Happy New Year's, because I won't get you a review until the new year, 2024. Genre, drama, horror. Funny that IMDb, again, a lot of little funny things, that drama is put before horror. I would have flipped those things. But anyway, rated R, starring Jack Nicholson. Oh, I cannot, and I have notes to this effect, cannot say enough about Jack Nicholson in this film. Wow. Shelley Duvall, Scatman Crothers, Danny Lloyd, and a name that Philip Stone. I definitely wanted to say Philip Stone because he has a significant part, and Joe Turkel also has a very significant part, even though they are side characters. I really like both of them in this film. Directed by Stanley Kubrick. This is a Stanley Kubrick film from beginning to end. This is Stanley Kubrick. This is a Stanley Kubrick film. This is not a Stephen King novel. And I want to distinguish that fact ahead of time. I'm sure I have plenty of notes to this effect. This is Stanley Kubrick's baby, and he did not. You have to look at it from the point of view. This is Stanley Kubrick's film, not Stephen King's novel. Okay, so there is a distinction, absolutely. And if you've read the book, if you read the novel, you'll know there's a clear distinction between the two. Produced by Stanley Kubrick. He's the only one that says produced by. There are executive producers and other producers, but he's the only one that actually says produced by. Written by Stephen King, wrote the book, so he is definitely credited as the original story. Stanley Kubrick was one of the two that worked on the script for this film, and Diane Johnson. Music by Wendy Carlos and Rachel Elkind. So interesting that so many women are involved in the making of this film. Awards received. Nothing significant, which is very, very sad. And I have this note later on, so I'll say it later on. I'm not going to say it now, but what I do want to say is there were a couple of awards that I wanted to say that were on IMDb. Academy of Science Fiction Fantasy and Horror Films USA, which apparently are the Saturn Awards. It's a winner of 2012 Best DVD Collection. It was a winner of the Saturn Award 1981 for Best Supporting Actress by Scatman Crothers, which was fantastic. I love that because he did such a great job. That opening scene is, well, not necessarily the opening scene, but the first scene with Danny. Wow, great job. And I probably have notes to that effect. Okay, moving on. Why did you choose this particular film? Let's get to this right now. Okay, I just completed my Stephen King book collection, novel collection. I now own, as of a couple of weeks ago, I now own every single fiction novel, every single fiction of Stephen King and Richard Bachman and Beryl Evans, on hardback, and they are all on these shelves. I own every single one of them now, including Holly, which is the newest one that came out this year, 2023, by Stephen King. And I've already pre-ordered the next one, which comes out May 2024. Already pre-owned. But the reason why I chose this one is for Christmas. One of my friends got me one of the best Christmas gifts I've gotten in a long time. One of the best gifts I've gotten in a long time. He so gets me. I've mentioned David before, David DeVore. He has his own podcast. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. About people who have experienced either death and come back, or near death experiences or things like that. Fantastic podcast / YouTube. I'll link it below again. I did that before, but I'll do it again. But he got me, if you can see right there, it is a bust of Jack Nicholson bursting through the door. Here's Johnny, and he's looking at The Shining. I put him right there looking at The Shining, and he is literally right next to my Jack Torrance, bloody Jack Torrance Funko Pop. So, I mean, this is like the Shining shelf. Love it. That is probably one of the best, like, unexpected gifts I've gotten in a long time. I was like, that's so me. It's so perfect. And so unexpected. So that's why I decided to do this review now. Have you seen this movie before? Oh yeah, plenty of times. I own it. I've read the book at least twice. I think maybe 3 times. I know at least twice. The whole thing is, it's been a long time since, because I'm going through all of Stephen King's stuff chronologically, and I'm way down on the bottom here. I'm on the last Dark Tower book. It's been a long time since I've read The Shining, so I might not remember everything, but there are things I do remember. I'm not going to try to make this review is mostly about the film. I want it to be about the film. There are several times where I am going to bring up the differences between the film and the book, simply because I want to make a clear difference that Stanley Kubrick made a brilliant film. And if you're looking for the book and you're disappointed, that's your fault. This is not the book. This is a brilliant film, and it has a point and a story, and it's very different from the film. So let's move on. I've said that a lot. I'll say it a lot. Let's move on. Would I recommend this film? Why or why not? Yes and no. You know, it's really hard to recommend this film, as brilliant as it is. If you don't like slow films, if you like films that move and you lose attention quick, this is not the film for you. This is not the film for you. This is definitely stylized, and it takes its time on purpose. That's the brilliance of the film. Also, if you don't like horror, graphic horror, type of films, you're not going to like this film. But I would say for Jack Nicholson's performance alone, watch this film. It's brilliant. He is brilliant. This is why people talk about his iconic acting, like his brilliance. Easy Rider, The Shining, A Few Good Men, As Good as It Gets. There are certain performances that he's done that just break the mold. He is amazing. And just for his performance alone, I would say watch this film. Which character were you able to identify with? Blah 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 blah. I've already talked about my distaste for this this fucking question. I hate it. So I have changed it again, like I've changed it before. Which character would you like to play? Oh my god, I would love to play Jack. Like so many people look at me as such, like the good guy, the sweet guy, the dependable. Like I've said before, you know, when I did my review of Die Hard, the only person that I could identify with is Powell. Why? Because he's dependable and he's good and he tries to do the right thing. That's me to the core. I can't wait to play a really good bad guy and blow people away, because I know that I can, and I know that it's going to be fun, and I'm just going to pull out all the stops, because when I finally get that chance to play that bad guy, I'm just going to, I want people to know I can be somebody completely opposite of who I am at the core. That's what acting's all about. Best line or memorable quote. Here's Johnny. Okay, of course, that's, you know, a big one, because I've got the bust on the bookcase now. I've got to mention that. But another great one is Red Rum. I mean, how many people don't know Red Rum? Red Rum, Red Rum. You know how many? It's such a great line and absolutely memorable. Were you surprised by the ending, and what would you do differently? Okay, so I saw this movie so long ago, I can't remember if I was surprised by any part of this. Like, because I knew what I was getting into when I watched this. This movie was made and came out before I was born. I was born in 1981. This came out in 80. So growing up, already knowing what The Shining is and what it was about, not having read the book, so I don't know the story, but I get that the movie is a horror film and it's graphic. And you see, you know, those images and things like that, and you sneak in when your dad's watching it and that kind of thing. So you see little parts of it, but you've never actually seen the whole thing. So when I actually sat down to watch this, I knew what I was getting into already. I didn't know the story, but I knew what I was getting into. So I don't remember if I was surprised by any part of this. I don't really remember. Yes, there is one part that I have a note that really shocked me. And because of the shock, I will always remember it. And I have a note to that effect, and I'll tell you what it is later. What would I do differently? You know, if I were to make a film now of The Shining, I certainly would not make Kubrick's film. There's no way it would even occur to me to make Kubrick's film. I would make a film closer to the book, absolutely, because of how much of a huge, you know, Stephen King fan I am. I would make something closer to the book because I love the story of the book, which is very different than this story. Very different than this story. What is or was the controversy surrounding this film? Ugh, so many. Like, what is that? Like, Kubrick said that he faked the moon landing, and like he put Easter eggs in this film that pointed to the fact that he had faked the moon land. I am not one of the people that believe that is true. I do not believe that is true, that he faked the moon landing. I don't think that's true. But that's just what I think. I have no evidence to support that, but I don't think that no. Shelley Duvall's mental state, having gone through what she went through, she talks about it in multiple interviews. That's absolutely controversial. The other hugely controversial thing is what I keep saying, is how different this is than the novel, how this is not the novel, how he made a brilliant film. People are like, oh, that was horrible. It had nothing to do with the book. Yeah, but you can't expect the film to be the novel. This is not Harry Potter where we're trying to follow the book. He loved the story, he changed it and made his own thing and made a brilliant film. You can't expect this to be the novel. And the next question is, after watching the film, can you see both sides of the argument? Okay, no. Okay, so the only way that makes sense is because of the third controversy I brought up, which is this is not the novel, this is the film. And I absolutely agree that this is a brilliant film, and this film is not the novel. And I will continue to say that, obviously. I'll bring that up. The last little note here at the book, it says the studio The studio, expecting Bonnie and Clyde 1967 to flop, paid Warren Beatty 40% of gross. Beatty made millions. Oh, of course he did. That movie still to this day, Bonnie and Clyde, is very iconic, historic and iconic. Okay, let's get into it. I've got tons of notes. And I probably could have made more notes, but I tried to hold myself back, but I still have tons of notes. I forget how perfect the music is for the film. And then when the opening happens, you go the boom, 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 boom. Oh, it's so great. It's so great. That whole beginning, that long, drawn-out drive. Okay, I'm just going to say it now because there are so many brilliant scenes that with these long pans or the long, slow zooms or the scenes where it almost looks like nothing is happening. You're going, why am I watching this? Why? Because Stanley Kubrick tried to make the audience feel as isolated as Jack does. And he does a brilliant job doing that. And this long drive, isolated, all you see is the one car. Every once in a while, you might see another car going the other way or a car broken down. But for the most part, it's an empty road in the middle of nowhere. Real high shots. Only once does he really come real close in, but it's one car, Jack, driving to the hotel. I think the scenery is beautiful, but the point is isolation. And the time it takes, the long drawn out time, is on purpose. It's on purpose to create that isolation, to create that feeling of solidarity and nothing around you and nothing, it's great. It's brilliant. Corduroy ties? Was that really a thing? They look corduroy to me. Maybe there's some kind of knit. I don't know. But both Jack, I know it's hard to... It's Jack Nicholson playing Jack Torrance. So Jack's going to be all over the place. So Jack is wearing one, and then the Altman, the manager of the hotel, is also wearing one. They're both wearing like a corduroy / knit tie. Like, that just looks horrible. Like, was that a thing? That really was? It looks horrible. Anyway, the tragedy in 1970, he talks about the guy going crazy, the guy being isolated and going crazy and killing his kids. How is this anything but foreshadow? How is this anything but slap you in the face foreshadowing of what's going to happen, of what the story's about? I don't think of it anything other than foreshadow. And the fact that he had just talked about, are you okay with isolation? Because many people aren't. And then he goes into the story about how this guy was isolating, went crazy and killed his family. I mean, it's absolutely foreshadow. Absolutely foreshadow. If you know nothing about this story, if you haven't read the book, if nobody's told you about the story, what a brilliant first hint of anything supernatural. It's Danny playing at the sink before he starts brushing his teeth, playing at the sink, talking to Tony, and Tony tells him, he says, "You think that he got the job?" And Tony says, "Yep, he's going to call Wendy right now to tell her." And boom, he calls Wendy and tells her. What a brilliant first hint of anything supernatural, of anything. Whoa, we know we're watching a horror film, okay, but if we didn't know anything about the story, if we suspend disbelief, let everything go and just watch the movie for what it is, that's the first hint of anything supernatural. And it's great that it's coming from a kid. And I've got to say, Danny Lloyd does a really, really good job. I know that there are some actors, some child actors today that you watch and you go, I really like the movie, and that kid just kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. He wasn't great. Danny doesn't. I like Danny's performance. Danny Lloyd does a great job. Again, Danny Lloyd playing Danny Torrance. You get a little mixed up. But wow, what a great scene. And then Tony shows him. After the phone call with Wendy, Tony, when he's brushing his teeth and he looks into, Tony shows him the iconic elevator and all the blood coming out and coming through the hall. Oh my God. Wow. What an amazing piece of film and iconic. And so many people know that. It's just so, I mean, I can't say it's as iconic as Empire Strikes Back, no, I am your father, that kind of thing. But it really is. It's an iconic piece of film, that blood coming down from, and then down from the elevator and then flooding the hallway. And that's the first time we see it, literally only a couple minutes into the film. And then the two girls, and then he blacks out. Holy shit. Now shit got real. Like, whoa, now there's something serious going on to this film. Oh my God. When Wendy talks to the doctor, after the doctor talks to Danny, and they go into the living room and they talk to the Wendy talks to the doctor. It's so unnerving. I find that piece so unnerving. That whole long one shot where she's talking and she's got the cigarette and the ash is like almost 2 inches thick or 2 inches long. And I'm like, it's so, I find the ash not broken off, the 2-inch ash practically on the cigarette, so distracting from what she's trying to say. Like, I'm like, and that's probably just me. I don't know. Maybe it's not just me, but I'm like, I find that so distracting. Why is that like that? But she turns out a really good performance talking about this. And when she talks about how Jack pulled Danny up and injured his shoulder, at first she says dislocated, and then she says injured. And we cut back to the doctor, and the doctor's like deadpan. I remember it's very serious. I get that it's very serious, and the doctor is reacting very seriously, and it's a wonderful performance. I used to think that scene was so serious, but now I've seen it so many times, I find it so hilarious because she is so deadpan. And Wendy is like trying to make light of the situation, and the doctor's just like, boom. Like, do you get the severity of what you just told me? You don't, obviously, because you're making light of it. So there is an error. There is a big error here, and I'm not going to talk about it now, but I want to mention it now because of this whole story that Wendy tells about, Jack hurting Danny and then saying, I'm not going to have another drink, and he hasn't had any alcohol, which she says he hadn't had any alcohol in 5 months. There is significance to that line later on because there's an error, and I will mention it later when we get to that point. Now we will move on. That long drive again. The long drive to the hotel is just making point of how isolated they are. They are in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere. It's unbelievably far from anything and anyone. And we're about to be completely snowed in. He's trying to make that point. And that long drive to the hotel is supposed to make you feel isolated. It's supposed to make you feel, and ominous. It's just, the music is ominous. And the music coupled with the long pans and the shots, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. He did such a great job with this film. And it is not the novel. It is not the novel. How the hell did all that luggage get there? All that luggage, like it's a mound of luggage plus Danny's trike or whatever. How did that fit in the bug? I thought to myself tonight, how in the world did the hotel pick all that up separate? You don't see a car following them. You don't see a car in front of them that they're following. Did the hotel somehow pick that up separately? That hit me tonight. I was just like, that's a mound of fucking luggage. How did they get it there in that little bug? There's no way. The haze medge, the hedge maze. Wow, I can't believe I just said that. The hedge maze is such an interesting idea. I don't know who came up with it, and it's not in the book. So it's such an interesting idea. And such a fun idea to like wrap up the ending that way. Very smart, but not in the book. Again, this is not the book. for whatever reason, when they walk by, when they first like go outside to like show them the maze, they walk by the hotel so quick, and I'm like, that hotel looks so fucking small compared to the like 10-minute walk through the kitchen. And you're like, this kitchen is fucking huge. Or the 5-minute walk through the Colorado lounge, the pink and gold lounge. And you're like, dude, this takes forever to walk through. And yet they walk by the entire hotel in like a half a minute in the outside shot. And I'm like, these got to be two completely separate places. There's no way everything that they're showing us inside is in the building that they showed from the outside. There's no way. There's no way. It's unfortunate that it rings false so quick every time. I'm like, those huge shots of the huge hotel where they're constantly walking through, there's no way that is the same hotel looking from the outside. No way. The camera work. Wow. I have several notes to the effect of the camera work. But the first one is the walkthrough. When they're doing the walkthrough, telling them what's what in the hotel, in the kitchen, the hotel before, everything. All those brilliant long shots, one shot, camera moving with them as they're walking by corners, around tables, through doorways, one shots. Brilliant. And the performances had to be on point because the timing had to be perfect. Oh, wow. Wow. Really, really great shots. I love a lot of those shots. Scatman Crothers, I had this note, is just fantastic in this film. No wonder he won that award. He deserved it. He's so great in this film. And I love that part where he's talking to Wendy, telling her about all the food, and then he shines to Danny. Such a great piece to establish that, Scatman, Halloran also has that ability. I love that first scene with him and Danny. Wow. Both of them do such a great job. Again, Danny's performance, he does a great job. He doesn't stick out like a sore thumb like some people. And I'm not going to mention who, but there are some young actors where I'm just like, wow, you really stuck out like a sore thumb in a otherwise really, really well done film. This is not. Danny may not have a lot to do and a lot to say, but what he does and what he says seems perfect for his character and seems perfect for the situation. And maybe he doesn't have the best delivery in the world, but that's because of his age, and it fits. It fits. He's not 10 or 12 and a poor actor. He's 8, and he seems 8, 6 or 8. Maybe he's 6. I don't know. But I love this whole scene with him and Halloran, where Halloran explains what The Shining is. At least he calls it The Shining. He calls it The Shining, and how he's able to do it. And then they start, and then again, Danny's performance talks about Tony and the little boy. Who what he does and doesn't say. Tony shows him things. Are you, and then he says, Halloran, Mr. Halloran, are you scared of this place? Oh my God. Here's where we start get to see what's going on with this place, what's really wrong with this place. Yes, we saw a little bit of what Tony showed Danny, but now we're starting to see, even Halloran is saying, some places, what did he say? Some places shine, some don't. Some places, what did he say? Like toast, like burnt toast. They leave a shadow of things that have happened, and those people that can shine can see it or can experience it, but it's just like burnt toast. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to whatever. So that's what Halloran knows of his experience of the hotel, which is brilliant. It's great. It's fantastic. I love that performance. I love it. I thought there was something else I wanted to say about that. Oh, I'm a little shocked that a couple of the times I am going to bring Stephen King into this, obviously, because it's a Stephen King story. I love this book. It's so early. It's the third book he wrote. It's so early in his repertoire, and he talks about The Shining. He gives it a name, this ability. But this ability, so many people have this and abilities like it, and it's a huge aspect in the Dark Tower series. But what shocks me is he never calls it The Shining except for in The Shining. I'm surprised that he doesn't carry that sentiment through the rest of his works and actually calls it The Shining. It would be a great establishing moment to your third book is The Shining, and then you talk about this aspect that so many other people have, but you don't ever call it The Shining ever again. I thought that was an interesting choice on his part. And in my opinion, I feel like it's a little disappointing that, when he talks about somebody else having it, I associate it, okay, that's, The Shining, what they call The Shining, but he never does in his books. And I thought that was a missed opportunity, in my opinion. But maybe he didn't, there's got to be a reason why he didn't want to do that. I don't know what that reason was. I don't know why I love this scene so much, but I do. When aside from the great camera work, like I've already said, when they follow Danny riding his trike through the whole hotel, fucking love that scene. I love him at play. I love that he's in the hotel and not outside. And I love that the hotel is that big. And I love the sound of his trike on the hardwood. And then on the rug. Oh, it's brilliant. I love it. I don't know why I love that scene. It's such a simple but well done and very well filmed scene. I love it. I love it. The brilliance of Jack Nicholson cannot be measured and cannot be said enough. And I probably will say this a lot. Oh my God, Jack Nicholson is amazing. I gushed over him when I did the review of Easy Rider, and I'm going to gush over him again. This first scene, when you first get the inkling of his, because up until this first scene where he loses his shit, he has been a very cool customer. We heard a story about him not being a cool customer, but we think that, it was because he was drunk. Because every other scene we've seen so far, we have experienced him as a very normal, nice guy. Now, we finally get that first scene where he loses his shit, where she comes and interrupts him and he's typing and he looks like he's hard at work, but we know, what is he doing? He's not hard at work. What he's writing is the same thing over and over and over. We'll get to that later. But we think that he is hard at work, and she interrupts him, and that scene is, oh my God, all the little brilliant things that Jack Nicholson brings to this performance. The subtleties, the body language, the eye contact with her, how he does his just wow. What do you want me to do about it? Oh my, when I'm in when you hear me typing, whether the fuck you don't hear me typing, what the fuck you hear me doing in here, that when I'm in here, that means that I am working. That means don't interrupt me. Why don't you start right now and get the fuck out of here? Just brilliant. Oh my God, that whole, not being grouchy. Oh my God, that scene is, I knew it was coming up because of how many times I've seen this movie. I literally had to write my notes really quick ahead of time because I knew what was going to happen. Just put it aside and just watch because it's so brilliant. There were a couple of times I had to do that. Hurry up. Write your note real quick. Pause the movie. Write your note real quick before we get to that scene, because I know what that scene's about. Write your note and just watch and enjoy Jack, you know. And as brilliant as Jack is in that scene, all the little nuances I've already said, all the wonderful performances, how he performs, his exasperation, where he blows up and where he calms down and where he talks, how he inflects. As brilliant as that is, the next scene of Jack simply staring straight, just side of the camera, and does nothing and just barely even moves. You know, as brilliant as the scene before was, this scene is just as brilliant. I know Kubrick wanted him to do that. I know that was the direction, but how he did it oozes something. I remember seeing I think it was Inside the Actor's Studio with Robert De Niro. And Robert De Niro talks about how you let the audience put the emotion. Don't do little things with your face. Don't think you have to. Stay blank to an effect and allow the audience to put that emotion on there. And this ability is not easy, because what am I doing? I'm just standing there, but with intent. I'm just standing there and allowing it to be. I'm not trying to do something or put something across. I'm trying to allow the audience to put that there. And Jack does it great here. Great. De Niro does a fantastic job in so many films of that very specific thing. Jack also does a great job in this scene in doing that, because there's so much there that he's probably not even thinking that we put in that scene. Wow. So Jack is going a little crazy. We finally get Jack is going a little, whoa, he's not who we thought he was. The isolation is getting to him. And then we finally see the girls talk to Danny, and then he sees them dead in the hallway. So that's the first time we see him dead in the hallway. So now the story's, okay, now we're moving somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. It's not just the isolation. Now things are at work. And here's where I'm going to put this note in. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably going to say this a couple of times. The hugest distinction between Stanley Kubrick's film, The Shining, and Stephen King's book, The Shining, what makes them insanely different is Stanley Kubrick is focusing on Jack Torrance. He is focusing on the hotel wanting Jack Torrance, and the hotel making him crazy is kind of what we're watching. The hotel is driving him crazy, and the longer he's isolated, the more crazy he's getting, and the more things he starts seeing, the crazier he gets, right? That's what the film is trying to portray. That is not what the book is. The book focuses on Danny. Danny is so powerful with The Shining, with that ability. The hotel is becoming stronger the longer Danny is there. And the hotel is feeding off of him and getting stronger and stronger. That's what the book is about. The hotel can't kill Danny. The hotel needs Jack to kill Danny and make sure that Danny stays at the hotel forever. And this strength and this ability that Danny has will stay with the hotel forever. I have said it. That is the hugest distinction between the two stories. Kubrick is focusing on Jack going insane, which is not true. The book focuses on Danny's ability and the hotel getting stronger the longer Danny is there. That's the point. That's the distinction. In the film, we don't get that at all. In the film, we don't ever get, and I have a couple of notes to this, we don't ever get that Danny is super fucking strong and the hotel needs him to stay, wants him to stay. The longer he stays, the stronger it gets, and they need Jack to do it, to kill him and make sure he stays. And I needed to put that in there now because I have notes to that effect later on. Okay, what movie is Wendy watching? When Danny asks to go get his his fire truck. She's watching a movie. This like teenage boy comes in and he's bringing groceries to this girl, and then she asks him to stay and offers him coffee and a donut or whatever. What movie is that? I'm sure I could look it up, but I figured somebody here might be able to tell me what movie is she watching. I always wanted to know what that was. At first I was like, is that The Graduate? But no, I haven't seen The Graduate, and I know that wasn't Dustin Hoffman there on the screen, so it had to be somebody else, something else. I don't know what that is, but I would be curious to know. I love that she tells Danny to be quiet. Going getting your fire truck. She finally says, okay, go get it. But really don't make a sound, she says. And what I love is the next scene we see, like really slowly the door opening, because he's trying to be super quiet and he's coming in. And what a good boy. Like, Danny's not a little shit kid. He's actually a really good boy. And I love that this scene shows that. She tells him to be quiet, and he's really trying to be quiet, like super fucking quiet. But then he walks by and sees that Jack is just sitting on the bed, fully dressed, staring into nowhere, or staring outside. You can't tell if there's a window there or not. He's got light on him like there is a window there. He literally is just staring. Sitting there, fully dressed, just staring. Creepy as fuck. Like, whoa. That's just real creepy. And again, this wonderful performance by Danny, age specific. Maybe his line delivery is not great. I already said that, but that's because he's like 6 or 8, and that's fine. We don't need him to be Shakespeare, or we don't need him to be Laurence Olivier, or we don't need him to be. We need him to be 6 or 8, and he does a great job of being that. and coupled with Jack Nicholson's performance, which is amazing in this scene, just creepy as hell. And the ominous music, again, the brilliant ominous music, not a soundtrack you would just listen to, but perfectly fits this scene and this movie. You would never hurt mommy or me. Whoa. Did she tell you that? Wow, the shift. It goes from being really creepy and you like it here. Yeah, I like it here. To, did mom say I was going to hurt you? Like, whoa, you see that shift in his demeanor and his character. Oh my God, I love you. And then he really tries to overcome, I love you. And he tries, we're having, the levels of Jack's performance there is really great. From the beginning where he is just literally staring off into nowhere, to conversing with his kid, to wait, she said she's going to hurt you, and then trying to overcompensate by the wonderful scene. I wrote this note tonight. How many shots, how many takes did they have to do to get that ball to roll to Danny on the carpet perfectly along the line they needed it to, and then stop about where they wanted it to? How many times did they have to do that? I can just imagine them doing it over and over. Wipe the rug, sweep the rug, move, try it again. Oh my God. I don't know how many, or maybe they got lucky and it was like the third fucking shot and they were like, oh, perfect, good, move on. I don't know, but it just, to me, I feel like they probably did that so many times just to get that right. That must have been a nightmare to try to get right. Jack, speaking of nightmares, Jack waking from the nightmare. Whoa! His performance there. Okay, I saw this YouTube video that said something about, one of the, I don't know if it was YouTube, it may have been something else. But I saw this video where somebody was trying to say that part of the craziness aspect of this film, Stanley Kubrick told Jack Nicholson to look straight into the camera, which you don't do when you're acting. You look off. You don't look at the camera. Nowadays, we have a lot of breaking the fourth wall type of thing, where you're not supposed to break that fourth wall. In theater, they do it every once in a while. In film, they're starting to do it more often. But back then in the 80s, you didn't do that. And from what this review or whatever this person was trying to say is, throughout the entire film, they have these parts where Jack Nicholson was told to look at the camera real quick, but look away, but look, to make you feel unsafe throughout the entire film. I had that in mind when I watched it this time. I think it's coincidental. I think it's psychosomatic. You think that he is, and he is. No, I'm watching all these scenes, especially that first scene where he yells at Wendy. He never looks straight into the camera. Never. I never saw him once move his eye to look straight at the camera. He's constantly looking at Wendy, who's up here, constantly, or down or off. He never looks straight into the camera. But I will say, this scene, when he wakes up from the nightmare, he absolutely, without doubt, without question, at least 4 or 5 times in his constant looking around, looks straight into the camera. You can see it multiple times, and it is eerie. It's beautiful, and it's eerie because he's not always, but several times he looks straight into the camera, and you're like, whoa, because he's not supposed to notice you. That's the fourth wall. You're supposed to be observing. You're not supposed to be part of, and he makes you part of by looking directly at you multiple times as he's explaining, oh my God, I had this horrible dream, and I didn't just kill you, I chopped you up with an axe. He multiple times looks straight into and you're like, during that scene, and it's supposed to creep you out. Wonderful done, wonderfully done. And then Danny comes in injured, and obviously the first thing that Wendy is like, what happened to you? And then automatically thinks Jack did it. I mean, who else is there? I mean, I can't really blame her for thinking that Jack has done it, because Jack hurt him before, and there's nobody else there. I mean, she can't even conceive of the fact. I mean, this has been, months now? A month and a half, 2 months? She can't even conceive of somebody else in the hotel. There's no way there's somebody else in the hotel. So who else is there to hurt Danny but Jack? It sucks. And he's like, what? Like, I can't believe you would blame me. And, oh my God. The brilliance of Jack Nicholson. Again, I will say it over and over and over. So this walk down the hall after she's accused him, and he's like, oh, that performance is so great. And he's walking down the hall to the Colorado Lounge. Wow. And this performance when he talks to Lloyd is probably one of my absolute favorite performances of Jack Nicholson of all time. When he's the nuances of this, how he looks, where he looks. I never, ever would have come up with the things that Jack comes up with in this scene. And yet, I have seen it so many times, and it's so brilliant. It has now become iconic. Like, how could you not have done it that way? I equate it to, and I know I'm going to run into an issue here. I equate it to, with his brilliant performance in The Witches of Eastwick, which most people discredit and don't think about. It's absolutely my favorite John Williams soundtrack. Absolutely. I could listen to that over and over and over, more so than anything else he's ever done, The Witches of Eastwick. But then this performance by Jack Nicholson in The Witches of Eastwick is brilliant at multiple times throughout that film. Oh my God, he's a fantastic. All the stereotypes, everything goes out the window when you play Satan or when you play, the devil or whatever. You get to do whatever the fuck you want. and it's fun and it's liberating because he's like no one we would ever know or think of, and you get to just do what you want. And Jack really took to heart, I think he took to heart that, because he has some great moments in that. Anyway, what I'm talking about, this scene with Lloyd and the bartender, and where he's talking about how I'd never heard him. I love the little son of a bitch. Words of wisdom, Lloyd. Words of wisdom. He does such a great, how would you know to, really? You just think about those brilliant choices in his movements, and his performance is exactly like when Cher's character comes, God, I can't remember her name right now. Cher's character comes and talks to Jack's character. God, it's been a little while since I've seen it. Daryl Van Horn. He goes to talk to Daryl, and he's doing his laundry, and she's like, "Why are you hurting Suki?" I didn't hurt anybody. 1 minute we were family, and the next minute I was shut out. Oh, that performance. What do you want? I want someone to do these shirts. I want someone to pay attention to me for a change. Oh, what does any man want? I want a little respect. That performance is brilliant. How he moves, how he grabs things, it's just, Jack is amazing. And I equate these two performances because they're so out of left field and brilliant. Brilliant. If you've never seen The Witches of Eastwick, if you're not interested in watching it, don't fucking fine. Just find that scene and watch it, because it is brilliant. Jack Nicholson. Just like this, The Shining, when he's sitting there, that first time he's talking to Lloyd. Okay. I've talked a lot about that. So here, here we go. What does he say? What'll it be? Air the dog. Give me a glass of bourbon, some ice, a glass and some ice, a bottle of bourbon. And just before he drinks, what does Jack say? Here's to 5 miserable months on the wagon and all the irreparable harm it's caused me. Okay? Remember that. Remember when and then right after he said, I'd never heard him. She thinks I heard him. I've never heard him. Well, I did heard him once. Okay. And she said, she'll never let me forget it. It was 3 goddamn years ago. 3 years ago. Whoa. Okay. Wait. Wendy said it in the beginning. He hurt Danny, but something good came out of it. He said, Wendy, I'll never touch another drop. And if I do, you can leave me. And hasn't had any alcohol in 5 months. He just confirmed the fact. 5 miserable months on the wagon. 5 months. Where did this 3 years ago come? Where does the error lie? Because there is definitely an error in writing there. Was that injury to Danny 5 months ago? And then he went on the wagon, like she said, like he says, I went on the wagon 5 months ago? Or was that injury 3 years ago, like he says, it was 3 goddamn years ago? Which one is it? Total mess up. Who messed that up in the writing? And if it's not a mess up and they said, oh no, there's something that explains it, well, fucking explain it to me, because I'm the audience. I've seen this 100 times and I still don't get where that makes any sense. That doesn't make any sense. You've messed it up. That total error. Okay, moving on. Okay, here's where another note from the book comes in. Well, it's the same note, but reiterated. Okay, I never understood, right after this part where we see Halloran sitting in Florida. He's in bed, chilling out, watching the news, and they got these really long pans, and he's just sitting there watching the news, perfectly fine. And then he starts to, and the heartbeat, the music of the heartbeat, boom, boom, and then he starts to, and then Danny's freaking out, and then he sees room 237. And then we move on to Jack in 237. But what I'm trying to get at is I never understood what that was. It was never clear to me what Kubrick is trying to tell me, what this movie is trying to tell me. Did the seriousness of the situation, or did somebody going into room 237 trigger Halloran? Did room 237 trigger Halloran itself? And somebody's in there, like I just said, somebody's in there. Which way did that happen? Did Danny reach out to Halloran? Did Halloran reach out to them? Because he knew something was wrong. Something was up. This whole scene was never clear to me. Like, what is going on here? I don't understand what you're trying to tell me, how this happened. Do I just forget it and go, okay, it doesn't really make sense. All we know is now he's connected. The book explains this brilliantly. Okay, like I've said, in the book, Danny's extremely powerful. But he's only 8 or 6. He doesn't know it. He doesn't know the extent of his power. He's never had anybody to use this power with until Halloran. Okay, Halloran. Danny's in Colorado, and Halloran is in Florida. He's gone on summer vacation or winter vacation or whatever you want to call it. Winter vacation because it's winter in Colorado, in Florida. Okay, so Danny knows Jack is fucked. He knows the hotel is stronger and trying to get at him. He knows he needs help. He can't do this on his own. So Danny knows he needs to reach out to Halloran. This is how the book is. He knows he needs to reach out to him. But Danny doesn't know if he can reach that far. Because Danny's 6, and he's never really used this ability on purpose. It's always sort of been an accident talking to Tony, and he's never had anybody else, like I said. So he's like, I don't know if I can reach that far, but I'm going to push as hard as I can. I'm going to reach as hard as literally, the situation is life or death. He believes the situation is life or death, and he's going to reach out as hard as he can. This is the book. Reach out as hard as he can. And he shoots a help me so fucking hard because he is so powerful, he almost kills Halloran. He almost kills him with how powerful and how strong he sends that out. That's in the book. And that now, once I read the book, I was like, now that makes sense. Because in the film, it doesn't quite make sense. But once you know in the book what actually happened, then you watch the scene and go, I get it now. Danny has reached out to Halloran and has shocked Halloran's system. He's reached out so hard. Now, they don't put it across in the film that well. Like, he nearly kills Halloran. And they don't put that, unedited, you hear the sirens. They don't put that across that well in the film, although I think they should have. But then you would have to establish, it's Danny. You shift the whole film when you do that. So I get why he didn't do that. Because he's focusing on Jack, not Danny. Okay, so moving on. I love that scene in the book. It makes the movie make sense because the movie never made sense. That piece never made sense to me. Okay. So as a gay boy, as a gay man, I never really got that whole seduction part of 237, that woman. Is that woman really a specimen? That naked woman, is she really that beautiful that he's that seduced by her? I don't know, because I just look at her and I see a naked woman and I'm like, So I'm not going to get psychological into this or my history or my past, but yeah, I watched that scene. I'm just like, okay, it's just a naked woman, and I don't get it. Is this woman really that attractive that it really pulls? I mean, I get the fact that Jack is that attracted to her, and she's a beautiful woman to him. Especially, next to, I guess, Shelley Duvall, which he's been with, or excuse me, Wendy, he's been with for so long, and then you tend to lose, I guess, if the sparks don't continue to fly, then you start looking at other women. He does that earlier in the film when the people are leaving and the girls say bye to Altman. They're leaving the hotel, and it's funny because Jack looks after Wendy goes into the hotel, into their room, because Altman is showing them their room. When they go in and Wendy's not there, he looks at the girls that are leaving, like the two young girls that are leaving. So I mean, obviously he's complacent with Wendy and is looking for, anyway. I love when it turns out to be the old woman. That's such a great. I don't remember everything from the book. There are certain things in the book that absolutely stand out to me, like Danny, the power of Danny, and that scene where he almost kills Halloran. So there are certain things in the book that I will never forget because it was that powerful. I don't remember if this young seductive woman and the old woman are in 237 or not. It was actually 217. In the book. Anyway, I don't remember that, but I love it in the film. It's done very, very well. The makeup, unfortunately, now you can see, but back in the day, I never really got that it was really bad makeup until now you watch it on Blu-ray and you're like, that makeup looks pretty rough. But you get the point, and I love it. That scene is good. concerned part. The almost vulnerable. Oh, so when he goes back to Wendy, this note's about Jack. That I started it with Wendy, but because he goes back to Wendy, I love this again. The multiple levels of his character moving through, much like the scene I talked about before with Danny and him. When Danny comes in, he's staring off into nowhere, and those levels of his performance. This again, the levels of this performance is great. The progression of his character. Jack comes in after being in 237. He comes in to tell Wendy what he's found. The vulnerability of him at first. First, he's lying to her about not seeing anything. I didn't see anything. And you can tell there's a self-consciousness about him lying to her. And then the concern for his child, like maybe he did it to himself. Maybe he hurt himself. That beautiful performance of him being that vulnerability and caring about his child. And then when she says she wants to go, the shift in his weird, that's so fucking typical. And he just like unloads on her. How, when I finally have a chance to accomplish something, you want to leave. I'm not going to let you fuck this up. And then he just, tears out of the room. And how he tears out of the room is so embodying that character. Just watch him move and watch him tear the door open and walk out. Just wow. I love that Stanley did not cut there. He follows him out the door. It's just a great shot and great performance. Wonderful levels of that character, and Jack doing such a great job with that. Okay, so I wrote this note now, but I already talked about this, so I'm just going to re-say it right now. I noticed, and I wrote the note here, I noticed what a wonderful difference in experience when you watch this film, which is completely different than the novel, and then when you read the book. The experiences are completely different. Here in this film, this brilliant film, we're watching Jack going crazy, and the hotel is like, you've always been here, and you will always be here. We want you here. We want you a part of us. It's all about Jack and Jack going crazy. And then the book, the experience of the book is Danny is so powerful and so vulnerable because he's such a kid that the hotel wants to keep him because of how powerful he is, because he's making the hotel more powerful. And the only way to get him is through Jack. Jack's going to kill him because Jack is the weakest link. There's no way Wendy would kill Danny. There's no way. So he's got to work on Jack to get Jack to kill him. It's such a different experience, like polar opposite experiences who we're focusing on. And that's why this movie is brilliant, and it is the movie, it is not the book. And the book is brilliant, and it's the book, it's not the movie. I love that. I love it. Grady and Jack in the bathroom. What a great performance. I know we mostly only see Grady's back, and that's fine. A couple of times we go forward, but I love the fact that we're reiterating. He says, you are the caretaker. You have always been the caretaker. Now, we heard the story of Grady being the caretaker before and killing his family. But here, Grady is saying, I've always been here, and you've always been the caretaker. Why? Because the hotel wants Jack in the film. The hotel wants Jack. And he wants Jack to kill the family, not because he wants the family in the film, not because he wants the family, but just because he wants Jack to tear down Jack and to keep Jack. That's what it's all about in the film. And the wonderful performance, Jack gives out in that bathroom is just wonderful. Your son has a very great talent. I don't think you are aware how great it is. That is the only hint. That is the only hint throughout the entire film that shows the importance of Danny. The only hint throughout the entire fucking movie that Danny is what's important. But still, again, in the film, it's not really about Danny. It's about Jack. The only reason why they're focused on Danny at that point is because Danny is bringing outside somebody, Halloran. He's bringing Halloran. That's the only... you get that if you just watch the film. All you get is that they want Danny out of the way because he's trying to, interrupt what you are about. He's trying to, undermine your authority. It has nothing to do with we want Danny. The focus is not Danny. From the moment that, I love this. So from the moment that like I said, Danny reaches out to Halloran, or Halloran is laying there and then feels the hotel or whatever, however you interpret that scene from the film, from that moment to this moment, that underlying heartbeat, boom, 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 in the soundtrack is gorgeous. Oh my God, it's fantastic. And it's just constant. I think it breaks up a couple of times, but for the most part, it's a real huge part of the soundtrack and makes perfect sense. And just, again, the hotel is coming alive. The hotel is getting stronger. And I believe that's what that heartbeat is. The hotel is coming alive because of Danny. They don't ever say that. Because of Danny. Because of Danny. What did Kubrick have in mind? If it wasn't, he didn't point out the fact that Danny is bringing the hotel to life, to stronger and stronger and stronger. He didn't mention that at all, not once in the entire film. Doesn't even hint it. So what is it about this heartbeat that he's trying to say? The hotel, is it the hotel is getting stronger because Jack is getting closer to killing them and Jack is getting closer to becoming who he is? Maybe that's what Kubrick is trying to say. I don't know. He's passed on now. I can't ask him, but I wonder what he was trying to convey with this heartbeat. If he's not telling the story of Danny being the focus, then I wonder what this was about. That heartbeat. I wonder. As much as I love the cold and the snow, and I've said this before, love it, I watch people drive, Halloran driving in the snow, and I'm just like, I would never want to do that. I wouldn't, that just scares the crap out of me just watching you drive. I've seen so many videos of so many car accidents in the snow, just insane. Why does California have insane insurance amounts insurance premiums when there are states that are snow that constantly people are running into each other because of the snow? Really? We're the worst fucking insurances? Why? Anyway, moving on. That has nothing to do with the film, and I should move on. Oh, excuse me. Oh my God. Oh my God. The experience of watching this, the intensity of her finding Jack's not at his writing table, but she finds his writing, and it's all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Everything written in a different way, and her performance is great. Unfortunately, there's a lot about Shelley's performance that I don't appreciate. I think a lot of times she's fake. She's trying too hard. I don't believe her a lot of the time. I think she was a poor cast for this film, in my opinion. I am really sorry for what she went through. Personally, I am sorry that she's had such a hard time after this film. I get it. I'm not trying to say anything bad about. I'm not trying to say anything bad about her personally. I'm saying her performance in this film did not do it for me at all. At all. There are points like this where I think her performance is very good. And this part where she finds the paper, this is why I don't have a lot of notes for her. It's because I'm not wild about her performance in this film. But this performance, when she finds that, she's so great. So wonderful. I love this when she's discovering that, and she's fucking freaking out. She's flipping through the pages. Oh, who came up with that? Kubrick? Who came up? That's not in the book. When I read the book, I had seen the movie so many times. I was looking for this part. I was looking for all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. It's not in the book. And I was like, who came up with that? Holy shit, that's brilliant. Who came up with that? Wow. Two more pages. Let's move. When Jack goes after Wendy. Wow. Again, you know, I don't know where this note is. I'm going to say it right now. It's sad. It's so sad that the Academy will not acknowledge films like this, horror. Lately, they've snuck horror films into other categories and been like, okay, we'll acknowledge it. But fuck, this performance is brilliant. And the fact that they never acknowledged this brilliant of a performance. Did he? No, because I looked up awards and he wasn't even nominated. Are you insane? This performance is blow your mind. The choices he made, the dedication to his character, the realism. This part when he goes after Wendy and all that you think maybe he should be taken to a doctor. When do you think maybe he should be taken to a doctor? As soon as possible. Stop swinging the bat, Wendy. Give me the bat. You ever thought for 1 second of my responsibility to my employer that I've signed a contract? Oh my God. How can you not watch this performance and be blown away? How can you not at least nominate this? Because it's a horror film? Well, fuck you. People who do this kind of work and this kind of dedication to an art and a craft should be acknowledged whether it's a horror film or not. You know, the Academy needs to open its fucking eyes and start seeing films that it won't acknowledge and hasn't acknowledged forever and ever and ever. You know, start acknowledging the fact that horror films can turn out wonderful performances, wonderful cinematography, brilliant sound. They can really make some great film. Just because it's horror doesn't mean it's not. It can't be taken seriously. It should be. It should be, and always should have been. When Wendy hits him and the shock of him and then hits him in the head and then he goes down, that whole scene always just like, it feels so real. Like they filmed that at the right angle. I don't know if he was actually hit, but it looks like he was actually hit. And I don't know who fell down those steps, if it was him or somebody, a stunt person, but that whole sequence is like gorgeous. It looks real, and the reactions and everything just looks whoa. So great. Again, Jack. That performance of him, both scenes of him in the food storage. When Wendy first puts him in there, that brilliant go look at the snowcat, you know, that performance when he's talking to Wendy. Wow. And then after that, the scene where he's talking to Grady through the door, and you know, only she's gotten the upper hand only for the moment. Great. You know, those performances, those two pieces are really great. He is literally acting to the wall, literally, and turning out such a wonderful performance. This red rum. I'm trying to hurry up. We're at 1:12. This red rum scene is so iconic and so fucking corny. Honestly, if you watch it, the performance, what's happening, how his line delivery, it's really fucking corny. But the brilliance is the level of this film is so great. The level of the filmmaking takes this scene that otherwise, if you would have put it in any other film, would have just been laughable and corny, elevates the level of this scene because we're in a very serious moment and we believe it. And her shock is horrible, and his is just horrible, but brilliant in this film. I can't explain how we've taken a real corny scene, and if you take that scene out and you put it in anything else, we would be laughing at both of them. You know, it would be, you know, Evil Dead Part 2. It would be Army of Darkness, you know. That scene in another film would be. That scene in this film changes the whole, it shifts your perspective of it and makes it freaky, and those quick pans, quick zooms, it raises the level of the quality of that scene. Wow. And makes it iconic. Red Rum makes it iconic. The intensity of Jack with the axe going at first the front door and then the bathroom door. Holy shit, that emotion and intensity comes right through the screen, and I feel it. I'm not watching Texas Chainsaw and I'm just scared of the chainsaw. The intensity, you feel his intensity through that scene, and it's brilliant. I'm sitting here, I've got it on Blu-ray, which means it's on a disc, watching it at home in the living room, safe and sound with my dog, and I still feel the intensity of Jack's emotion in that scene. Oh my God. Wow. And I'm like, I could never have done that. I'm so not Jack Nicholson. I'm big. I'm very strong. Huge chest, huge arms. I would have taken that door down in probably 2 swings. That door wouldn't have lasted that many hits. But him hitting it over and over and over is impactful, and it's like it freaks her out. Here's Johnny. That tearing the door down, and her just being freaking out. That performance, not my cup of tea. I love that the snowcat interrupts the whole thing. That's brilliant. Halloran coming in the snowcat. When Jack gets Halloran, that shocked me. And it shocked me so much. I was not expecting it, like I said in the beginning of this video, I was going to talk about this. It had shocked me and it impacted me so much that I was like, I will always remember that as being a shocking scene. No matter how many times I've seen it, no matter, I know what pillar he's behind. I know when he comes out. I know. Still impacts me because of the way it impacted me the first time I saw it. It was so shocking. I was whoa, not expecting that. And I think it's the timing of it. Because he's walking and you expect him, if anything's going to happen in this scene, it's going to happen right here. But then it doesn't, and he keeps going, and then you're like, okay, you let your guard down. You're like, okay, fine. And then, boom, he gets him. And you're like, whoa. I think that's what it is. Like you're watching, we're in a horror film, it's going to happen here. If it doesn't happen here, well, then we're going to move on. It's going to happen somewhere else if he gets him at all. But then when he does it's a shock. Whoa. When Wendy starts running through the hotel and we see all the visions of the other people in the hotel, doesn't make any sense if you don't understand what's going on. And what's going on is the hotel is getting stronger. It's feeding off of Danny. So again, this was one of those things that always was like, okay, these are crazy shots, and I'm like, okay, Wendy's starting to see it now for the first time, but why? Never really made much sense to me, and what's going on in those scenes doesn't make sense to me, but it explains what's going on in those scenes, what's actually going on in those scenes in the book. Read it. I'm not going to talk about it here, but it makes more sense, that scene, now having read the book and realizing that the hotel is getting stronger, and that's why she's starting to see it and everybody's starting to see it, because the hotel is getting stronger and more is being you can see more. Great camera work following Danny in the maze. I love that. Following him, it's just great camera work. Like throughout the whole movie, there's some really great moving with people camera work. Really, really well done. I love that the idea of Danny backstepping on his steps to try to hide where he is, hiding, and then Jack. And that's how Jack gets stuck in the maze, is because he keeps going even though Danny's feet. Really, really well done. Really, because that maze is not in the book. So whoever wrote the maze in and then wrote that as the ending, really well done. I really like it. It's a really cool part. when Wendy finally sees the blood, that iconic scene, the blood coming out where the elevators are, it's nowhere near as impactful. And I'm kind of like, we've already seen it multiple times, and at this point, it's like redundant. And I don't like her. Okay, I'm not going to say. I hate saying bad things about people. Her performance is not great, and I don't believe her a lot of times. This is another one of the times. Not only have we seen this scene too many times, and it's not impactful anymore, it's not shocking anymore, we've seen it, but her performance doesn't help that either. Jack frozen in the snow at the very end. I have the pop of Jack with the axe, and he's bloody. I love it. I wish I had the pop of him frozen. I think when I went to go buy it, it was just way too expensive. But it's a cool pop of him frozen in the ice. Love it. That shot of him is great. And the ending. So the ending reiterates the fact that we're doing a film focused on Jack. We're not doing the book focused on Danny. And we do that long musical, the music at the party, that long pan to we see Jack in the middle of everywhere in 1930 or something like that, and he was always there. He's in that picture on the wall because he was always there. Jack is the one the hotel wanted. At least that's what the film. So the point of the film is Jack. The hotel is focused on Jack, not Danny. And that, that's what makes them different. And that's what makes this film brilliant, because it got its point across perfectly. He did such a great job with this film. Absolutely 9 out of 10. Absolutely. And it's not the novel. You have to just accept the fact that this is not the novel, and then experience it for what it is. There are a couple little hiccups, like I've said, that didn't quite make sense until you know what's going on in the book. Then you're like, okay, now those scenes make sense. Anyway, it was a little longer than I thought, but The Shining. I mean, fantastic, classic, wonderful film. If you haven't seen it, I hope I didn't ruin it too much if you want to go back and watch it, because it is, if nothing else, just for Jack Nicholson's performance. Wow. Okay, thanks for listening, and I'll get another video out to you soon. Happy New Year, and I will get another video to you soon. And it won't be from the 70s, okay? I promise to let's bring it to the 2000s, somewhere in the 2000s. I'll find a movie somewhere in the 2000s to review next, okay? Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.